how I make travel planning a breeze for the executive I support. The first thing you're going to want to do is create a travel profile within your dossier about your executive. So this dossier is going to have all the important relevant information about your executive, and it is something that you should set up ideally when you're first starting the job or when you're first starting to work with your executive. In the travel portion of the dossier, you're going to want to put all your executive's travel preferences and his full legal name, because that's the name you're going to have to use on his flights, his TSA pre-check information. You want to get his loyalty numbers, if he has a preference of airline, whether it be Delta, American Airlines, etc. You want to understand what type of seat he prefers. Does he prefer the aisle seat? Does he prefer window seat? Is it business class every time? First class only? Is he okay with basic economy? etc. You want to understand all those things and put it in your travel dossier. The next thing I always do is I always book directly, right? I always book with the airline. I don't like using like those search engines like Expedia or Kayak, because I find that, an executive is a busy person. Their schedule can change at any minute. So then I'm usually changing flights as often as I'm booking flights. So if I book with a third party, it's way more difficult to change a flight than if you book directly with airline. You book with American Airlines, you can just go on their website, you can change the flight, you can find a new flight, you can do all this stuff directly on the website without having to talk to anybody. But let it be Expedia, you have to sit on the phone, or just so much hassle. It's inefficient. So for efficiency's sake, book directly. The same could also be said for hotels. It's way easier to change the reservation and shift it if you book directly than if you book with a third party. The third thing I do that makes travel planning a breeze for my executive is that I put everything on the calendar. Another benefit of booking directly, I don't know if you can do this on third party, but at least when you book directly, you're able to download a calendar file of the flight, and that also helps me double check that I booked the right flight on the right day. When I download the calendar invite directly from the airline and upload it into the calendar client, I use Outlook now, so I have to upload the file. It imports all the flight details, the confirmation number, etc. directly into the calendar invite, so that if the exec is ready to check in and stuff, he can reference all that information directly on his calendar. I also like to put just about everything on the calendar. I put his travel time and take into consideration that he has to go through security. I block that out on his calendar. I put the details of the hotel and the confirmation number on his calendar. If he's like Ubering around, I'll write out like the length of time the Uber will take and block that out on the calendar, so he knows, okay, this Uber is going to take me 15 minutes to get to this next spot. I just try to put as many details as possible on the calendar so that the executive, when he glances at his phone, everything is right there, and then he doesn't have to be contacting me throughout the day because I did my job in advance. And the fourth thing I do is that I realize I'm human and I make mistakes. And mistakes are going to happen. Nobody's perfect. But it's about how you respond to the mistake. For example, the other day, I forgot to add my executive's TSA number. I booked so many flights for him, and that rarely happens, and it wasn't a big deal. He called me, I gave him his number, and he was able to go to the desk and add it. I apologized to him, and I made a mental note to myself to be sure to double check that I'm putting the TSA number in so he doesn't have that issue again, and then I move on with my day. So if you want to become a six-figure executive assistant like me, but you don't know where to start, join my 4-week live course launching on April 2nd. Enrollment is open now. The link is in my bio, and I'll be teaching all these tips and tricks and much more in the course.